difficult having small ears. Just can't get this technology around. Can you hear me? You guys can hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
How you guys doing today?
Good.
Good? Had a good week? Yes. Good week? Yeah, mine was pretty solid. The usual. But, we're here, right? So, amen to that. So before I begin, I want to say that, oh gosh, I can't get anything. This is a bad circumstance right now. Can you get it? Okay, no? Okay, I'm just going to have to hold these guys right here. And this is coming apart, okay? I think I got this. Yeah. Oh, man. Yes, thank you. Okay, I can't do anything right now. Okay. All right. Yes, please. My ears are too small for that technology, man. It's crazy. It's crazy. Gosh. But anyway, before I begin, I'd like to say that I'm slightly flattered at Mr. Enrique's introduction. Hopefully I don't, lower your expectations. Hopefully I exceed them. And I'm more or less mad that it was a bait and switch here. I actually thought we were going to have, something going here, but it was definitely just gave it a bait and switched up on me. But, like you said, you saw the video. The video sort of made it into a comical presentation of circumstances. And the reason why I wanted to delve into this topic was because circumstances are something that each and every individual in this room faces on a constant basis. And I wanted to talk about this because I know that we all experience circumstances, and I know that circumstances can be tough, and we need to know how to get through circumstances and how to get past them and how to become victims of our circumstances. So before we begin, I will pray, and then after that we will delve into snot, okay? So let's pray. Dear God, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for guiding us and blessing us and protecting us. Lord, I ask that you allow the message that you have bestowed in me to these people, and I ask that you allow that the message seeps into their hearts and that they can implement what I'm saying into their lives. Lord, guide us, bless us, and protect us. In the mighty name of Jesus, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. So we have circumstances, and the dictionary definition defines circumstances as an event or fact that causes an event or fact that helps to cause something undesirable. And so, the first story that comes to mind when I think of bad circumstances is the story of Job. And, I assume that by show of hands, how many are familiar with the story of Job? Yeah. It's definitely one of those overused ones. It's very cliche, very, bad things happen, but good things can come out. But I want to sort of, pick the story apart and really analyze it for us all to see, what comes out of circumstances and what we can learn from the circumstances and how we can draw parallels into our lives. So essentially, the story of Job begins, and we understand that he has a vast amount of wealth. He has 10 beautiful children, and he has, just to spit out the numbers here, to be precise, he has 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 1,000 oxen, and 500 donkeys. So in modern equivalent, that is close to $500 million in products. So $500 million worth of animals. I mean, they didn't have Lamborghinis back then, so it was pretty close. So essentially, what happens to Job is that he has all of these things that he worked hard to acquire. He has all these beautiful children. He has this beautiful home and everything. And all of a sudden, for reasons that he had no control over, for reasons that he did nothing to deserve, okay, the Lord allowed all of these things to be taken away from him. Satan took all of these things away from him. And what we see is that, obviously, you know how hard it is for a parent to lose one child. We can imagine that pain. But to lose all 10 of your children, right? And then to lose all of your animals, and then to have, all of a sudden, to wake up one day and to have aching purple sores all over your body, okay? And then, it became so bad that this guy, in Job 2, verse 9, we see that his wife actually asked Job to curse the Lord. He said, why? Well, hold on to, you still retain your integrity. Curse God and die. So, we see that it had become so bad that, his wife, his very wife, encouraged him to let go of God. But what's remarkable about this story guys, is that Job never, ever cursed God. You know, he held on to his faith. He focused on the end, and ultimately he came out better than he was before. So as we go along, some parallels that we can draw into our own lives from Job's story, because it is a very basic story. Okay, some things that I take from that are that things will happen to us in our lives that we have absolutely no control over. Okay, the same way that Satan was able to take everything away from Job, there will be events in our life that we have absolutely no control over. Things will happen to us for reasons that we did not do to deserve, for reasons that we won't see or we may never see until after the event, or during past. You just don't know why they happen, but they will happen. Secondly, something that we saw with Job is that if you're truly acquainted with the story of Job, you'll know that he had three friends of Job. Okay, and what's remarkable about this is that as he was going through the trouble, all of his friends, instead of trying to support him, to be by his side, to comfort him, to console him, they instead proceeded to mock his sanity. They made fun of him. They asked him, they questioned how mentally upright he was. And that's probably the most remarkable aspect, is that there was three friends. And obviously we talked about his wife, not supporting God, but his three friends, they constantly were bombarding him with bad advice to let go of God, are you a fool? Why do you stay with this man? He takes everything away from you for no reason. But yet Job never lost sight of God. And I think that's what's most remarkable, is that when we're prospering, guys, when things are going well for us, when we're accomplishing the visions that we have instilled for ourselves, when we accomplish our dreams, when we're accomplishing our goals, you're going to find that you're going to have a lot of so-called friends, people that want to be around you, people that want to help you, people that will give you stuff, right? But the moment that you start, hitting some bumps in the road, the moment things aren't so easy, things get tougher, it's harder to get out of bed in the morning, or you have bad workouts, stuff like that. You'll start to see that your friends aren't actual friends. They bombard you with bad advice. They discourage you from doing what you want to do. But you have to remember, guys, in the same way with Job, is that, God allows circumstances to happen to us to strengthen us, to develop our character.
Amen.
Okay? And as individuals on this earth, okay, we should have two goals. Every individual should have two goals, I believe, fundamentally. And those two goals should be to maximize ourselves as individuals and to maximize our relationships with God.
Amen.
Okay? If you can do those two things on a daily basis, then it will become that much easier to find true fulfillment in this life.
Amen.
Okay? And that's what circumstances allow us to do. All right? They allow us, okay, to strengthen our relationship with God, to pray more, to strengthen our faith, to develop that toughness, to develop that grit, that grind, to know that things aren't easy now, but God will come through for me later. And it also allows us to become better people. Suddenly, when I'm going through something tough, when I lost my job, when my wife leaves me, or when I'm not doing well in school, whatever it may be, suddenly I realize who my true friends are. And so that, I think, is an essential thing of circumstances. But lastly, and probably one of the more important points that I can make about this topic is to focus. And we need to focus on the future. Now, this is more of a stretch from the basic Job story, but it is still very important, guys. Okay? And, just to highlight the verse, in Job 19, verse 25 to 27, so I can read that for you guys. So it says, "But I know my living Redeemer, and he will stand on the dust at last. Even after my skin has been destroyed, yet I will see God in my flesh. I will see him myself. My eyes will look at him, and not as a stranger. My heart longs within me." So you see that verse, and Job was going through all of this stuff, guys, okay? I talked about, the loss of everything that he had. All of these people are going against him. He's miserable. And miserable is an understatement, and I don't know. My vocabulary is too little to describe how bad, this guy's plight was. But we see here that even as he was going through what he was going through, right, he still kept his eyes at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's something that we all lack, particularly for myself. I think, God has given us everything we need to keep ourselves focused on the future. And, we need to remember that circumstances don't make us who we are. Circumstances, their true intent is to better us as individuals. So when we're going through something, we need to be able to focus on the future. Because ultimately, guys, it comes down to the wire. You're going to have aspirations. You're going to have goals. You're going to have things that other people around you don't see. You're going to want to do things that other people don't support, or other people won't support, or other people will laugh at you. And things are going to happen, and you don't know why they're going to happen, right? But you need to realize, guys, that God is there, okay? And I really don't know how to say this. I wish I could, have an example of this, because you hear that so much, and it's thrown at everyone like, just, water, God is there, God is there. What does that really mean? But when we're going through something like Job is, guys,
Amen.
Or something that we feel is tough, because for me, I have big aspirations for myself. I have big things for myself, and when I look at this story, I take, I have so much more confidence. I feel so much better about what I can do, and what everyone else can do, because Job, even as he was going through what he was going through, and he was focusing on heaven, he was focusing on the latter days, on his Redeemer. God was going to redeem him, even as he was going through what he was going through. Okay, he was focused on going to heaven. All right, he thought he was going to die, and that kind of strikes me, because this man lived to be 150 years old, and yet at that moment he was focusing on getting there. Do any of you guys have any modern day Job stories? No? Nothing strikes you as something where somebody had a lot, or came from a series of circumstances and then, came out better than they were before? No? No? Okay, well, as corny as this may sound, something that comes to me, and that correlates with the last point I just made about focusing on the future and seeing things clearly or clearer than other people around you see them. I think of Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay? And I know that sounds corny, but I'll elaborate, okay? So, you look at a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Okay? And then you look at him now, right? I mean, he's a Hollywood hotshot, he made a bunch of money, right? He accomplished all these goals. But then you look back, at his, at the commencement of his life, and then, you're sort of perplexed. Like, how could a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger actually make it big in life? Literally, right? I mean, he comes from Austrian nowhere, middle of nowhere, no one cares, right? Okay? He's this skinny kid, his dad is some random Austrian police chief, no one cares, right? Okay? And suddenly, as a youth of my age, right, he has this dream to become this world-famous bodybuilder, I mean, that was so out of the archetype, that was so off the tracks, that was so out of the ordinary. Everyone shot him down, everyone laughed at him, everyone thought he was a fool, people asked him what he was smoking, what he was drinking. No one understood his goals, his visions. But yet, at the age of 17, at the age of 18, he saw that he was going to be the world's best bodybuilder. And he saw clearer than anyone else around him. So what did he do? He focused, he set the bar, he set his goal for himself, okay? And he worked at it, okay? And he believed in his abilities, okay? Even when no one else believed in them. And you know why our goals can be achieved, right? Why I believe our goals can be more firmly achieved than Arnold Schwarzenegger's can is because we have God.
Amen.
Right? He had an intense belief in his abilities, but imagine how much better he could have been if he had God, Amen. Right? And that's the same thing with us. Nothing is too small for God, guys. You have to remember that. nothing is too small, nothing is too big, okay? If you want to do something, go do it.
Amen.
You want to get something, go get it.
Amen.
I mean, it's plain and simple, I can, take a walk in the park, come back, and whatever, but at the end of the day, that's what it is, guys. You want something, you go get it.
Amen.
And you see that with him. And then, so long story short, guys, okay, he becomes this world famous bodybuilder, right? Okay, so he's all muscles, whatever. And he comes into Hollywood and he says he wants to be an actor. And once again, everyone laughs at him, right? I mean, how is this guy with a name, as long as, anything, as long as a highway, right? Wants to be a bodybuilder. He's massive, years of steroid abuse, right? And he wants to make it big in Hollywood, okay? And people laughed at him, and no one thought he could do it, right? But then, he got a movie, right? And he saw the goal clearer than anyone else saw it. And that's what Job saw that his friends didn't see. That's what Arnold saw that his friends didn't see, that his parents didn't see, that all of the directors and acting agents didn't see. And that's what we have, guys, okay? When God gives us a talent, when God gives us a vision, when we have dreams that we feel are blessed by God, we can accomplish them. Because as long as we have a belief in our abilities, and as long as and God enhances that, I mean, there is no limit. The sky is the limit. There's no limit after that. I mean, it's the galaxy and beyond. Okay. So I like to establish that. So that's very important, guys. So essentially, how Schwarzenegger's story ends. He starts in all these movies with all this money and blah blah blah. So so as we move along, guys, bringing this sort of back home, all of us have circumstances, okay? And I don't care how young you are, I don't care how old you are, I don't care what you look like, what you wear, what you dress like, it doesn't matter. But all of us, all ages, have often very similar circumstances. By a show of hands, how many of you have felt inferior or inadequate? Try anything. No? Everyone's hand should be raised. Wow, okay. There's some liars. But anyway, different sermon. But, essentially, what it is, guys, is that all of us in our lives, all of us have different circumstances, some harder, some smaller, some people, I know if you drama queens, some people like to, enlighten your circumstances, like there's something big, they're not really big, but nonetheless, guys, it comes down to this. All of us have circumstances, is that correct? Show of hands, agree? Yes? Yes? Amen? 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 Okay, good, yes. All of us have circumstances, right? And so essentially, and the reason why I mentioned inferiority and inadequacy is because all of us have feelings like that, okay? All of us will have feelings like that. If you haven't had feelings like that, you will have feelings like that. Okay? And you should have feelings like that. It's normal, okay? It's a part of being an imperfect human being, okay? Accept that, all right? You will feel sometimes that you're not as beautiful as your friends, okay? Or you don't have as much money as your friends, or you're not as good at, at basketball, or, at dancing, or, whatever it is, okay? You're not as good as whoever, okay? You're not as good of a model, or you're not as good of a guitar player, or whatever. I could be here for centuries talking about this, guys. But essentially, and the great Ellen G. White mentioned something about that, is that if we knew the beginning from the end the way God did, we wouldn't change anything. We wouldn't change anything in our lives or in anyone else's lives. And that holds true for you guys.
Amen.
Right? That holds true for you guys. So essentially, and let's ask ourselves the question, right? If Job knew what was waiting for him after his circumstances, oh, by the way, in case you didn't know what happened to Job, okay, he had 10 more children, or vastly more beautiful than his 10 first children. He had double the amount of animals. So now instead of having $500 billion worth of, cars or whatever, property, he had $1 billion. Oh, I said 500 million, now he had $1 billion worth, okay? And so, if Job knew what was waiting for him after, he had purple sores all over his body, his kids died, he lost the first set of animals, and all his wife and his friends were laughing at him, were mocking him, he wouldn't have said a thing while he was going through what he was going through. He wouldn't have said a thing. He would have just, shut up and just, live life, smile and wave, and then after that, you would have experienced what would happen. And then also, too, you have to ask yourself this, God, if Job knew how his story would touch so many lives, if Job didn't experience his story the way he did, then I would be preaching about, someone else. So we have to realize, guys, and I said this before, our circumstances don't make us who we are, okay? They better us.
Amen.
Some people ask, can people change? Do people really change? And the way I answer that question is that I don't think that people really change, but I think that the circumstances that we encounter in our lives, they allow us by, going through some bumps in the road, they allow us to react to different things differently. And by going through circumstances, we react to different things differently in a more positive manner. And by going through circumstances, we have a broadened perspective on, what is actually good and what is actually bad. So, we talked about circumstances, we talked about what they are, we talked about, what happens during the circumstance, what to do. And I just want to give you some solutions, guys. Because ultimately, you will have circumstances. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't make the rules, I just follow them. So, the circumstances are inevitable, you know what I mean? If they weren't, I wouldn't be here, But what it is, guys, is that we need to keep our mind over everything, okay? And, again, I hate using overused cliche things, because the problem with the overused cliche things is that they're so overused, they don't actually have a meaning. You just say them and then put their hands and, smile and wave. But essentially what that means, guys, is mind over everything. You have to keep your outlook on the future. You can't be in the past. You can't be in the present. You have to be in the future, guys. The same way that Job was. If Job was a product, if Job saw himself as a product of the past, a product of the present, he wouldn't get out of the situation the way he did, guys.
Amen.
Okay? And that's what we have to realize.
Amen.
We're going to go through problems, okay? You're going to lose your job. Your girlfriend's going to break up with you. You know what I mean? You're not going to be as handsome as the next guy. I mean, so what, But we just have to move along, guys, okay? And we have to see the future, all right? Because, I don't know if I mentioned this, but God gives his toughest soldiers the toughest battles, okay? And so if you're going through something tough, just remember, guys, that God wouldn't have given you that battle or that circumstance if you knew you couldn't handle it and if you knew you couldn't get out of it, okay? He couldn't get you out of it. Obviously, you look at Job, and why did he go through all of that, okay? But, we have, in retrospect, we could say that God wanted to use his story as an example, as a foundation for other stories, so we can take insight, we can take calmness from his story. And also, God wanted to show us that he can bring us through anything, and he can take us out of it. He wouldn't put us in the God he couldn't take us out of it.
Amen.
So we should see this also, guys, as an opportunity to let our faith be strengthened. When we go through problems, sometimes that is God's way of enabling us to strengthen our relationship with God. Okay, that's just the way it is. If you have a problem, guys, you see that as an opportunity to pray, to volunteer some of your talents for God, to outreach to more people, and just to move along. Now, as we close, guys. I mentioned sort of that verse, Job 19, verse 25 to 27. And then also there was a verse that coalesced with that in Jeremiah 29, verse 11, that says, God will help you prosper. So once you see the future, guys, God will allow you to prosper. I mean, it says in the Bible, so it has to be true. Amen. Again, another cliche, but it's true. So to let the message sink in, guys, we have to remember that God is our Redeemer, okay? And, to close, we're going to sing a song for you guys that talks about being redeemed. And I'll just read some of the lyrics, the first part of the lyrics, guys, so you can sort of let that seep in. But, I ask that while the song is being played, if you could close your eyes, if you could just visualize yourself, in the song, so to speak, and just let the words come over you. Because I feel like you will be truly blessed if you allow this to happen. Okay? But it mentions, it says, seems like all I can see was the struggle, haunted by events in my past, shackled by all of my failures, wondering how long this will last. So we see this, guys, and that's what happens when we're going through our circumstances. We start to think of the bad events in our past. We're shackled by the bad events in our past, and we're wondering how long this will last. But we should take heed, guys. We should be confident. We should take strength in the fact that God is our Redeemer. Jesus is our Redeemer. Jesus will set us free. Jesus will deliver us. Jesus will better our lives.
Amen.
And so we should take that into consideration as we combat the circumstances that we will combat on a day-to-day basis.
Amen.
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 Give a little time to him because he's going to play the piano for us today. This song kind of like did the same thing with Vladimir and time.
Yeah, I got roped into this. He's like, oh, check this video out. We're doing it in a couple of weeks.
But when I heard the song first, I couldn't stop thinking one of the first times I saw Danny in the church. It reminded me so much about him. I remember that day in the church, I remember Seventh-day Adventist Church, Danny was going through some really tough time. And he told me, brother, I feel like I need to be redeemed. I remember that. And it reminded me so much, so I sent a video to him, and I told him,